Hi, it's Peter Temple, and this is the market report for Monday, March the 14th, 2016. Well, the bear is waking up, and I'd said in my last video that the count is down. The larger count is down, and we're just waiting for this thing to turn over, which could be Monday, Tuesday, because we've got a major cycle turn on Monday and Tuesday, and we're just about there. So let's just do a quick little recap. We had this truncation around the December 3rd time frame, and then we came down in this first wave. We're calling it a first wave, an ABC up, and a truncation squished up the beginning of this wave, but we have overall 5 waves down. So we're calling this the first wave down, and these are motive, except for this wave here looks like an ending diagonal, and it's overlapping. The waves themselves are motive, but we have this overlap between the first and the fourth here, which really makes it an ending diagonal. We did come down to a new low here, so that would suggest that this is a motive set of waves down. Then we have this very obvious ABC corrective wave on the way up, which has gone on forever. This is the second wave. It's gone into the area of the first wave. So, you know, barring something funny about the truncation, I would have to consider this a second wave. Here's the 62% retrace line, which pretty well denotes the second wave. So within this ABC up, we've had a C wave here with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves, and within a C wave, once you get to the C wave, once you get to the fifth wave, that denotes the end of the trend, and the trend is going to turn over, and it looks like it is just about to do that. I'm going to zoom in here and show you the numbering scheme for the last wave over the last couple of days, and we just have a little bit. We have one more down and one more up, and then I think we're done. Now I'm zoomed right into a 2-minute chart here on the S&P 500. I don't normally go in this tight, but this just shows you how close we are to a final top here. This is the fifth of the fifth wave, the one that we have completed over the last couple of days. It's not quite complete yet, but boy, almost. So we've got a 1, 2, a very large 3, 4, and we're in this fifth wave. And if you look closely, you can see we've got a 1, 2, and a third wave here. And so if I go and measure these, you'll find that if I take one length here as being the first wave, one length here as being the first wave, you'll see that the third wave is 1.6 times the length of that. And if this fourth wave were to come back 38%, it would take us right to this point here, which is the previous fourth, and it is typically 1.6 times the length of the first wave, and again that takes us to 2025. So that's, I would think, the highest we're going to go based on this. We'll have to see how far we drop, but I would think Sunday we're going to put in a fourth wave, and Monday we may see the top. We may see this fifth wave, but I'm going to be looking at this area up in here as the final. And then we're going to just turn over and head down, and this is going to be a huge third wave by the looks of it. But again, we're going to know how far. It's going down to a brand new low, which is, going back to the hourly chart, is way down below 1810 and far below that. And I'll know when we get started on this wave, certainly by the length of the first wave, and the first wave really should come down to the bottom here. So we have got several weeks ahead of us, if not a couple of months, of a downdraft, which is going to be very large. Here is a 4-hour chart of IWM, which is the Russell 2000, and these are the working stocks. They're the lower cap stocks, and you can see that we've got a very motive set of waves down here from the very top of this pattern. And so what we've got right now is a second wave forming here. We had a second wave up at the top here into a fourth, and now we've got, measuring from this fourth down to this first wave down, we have got a second wave here at 62%. So I'm expecting this to top out in the next day or so at 110. And so if you're trading this particular index, I would see this turning over Monday, Tuesday, just like everything else. We haven't looked at the Dow Jones Industrials for a while, the DJ20, But here it is, and this is a daily chart, and you can see that it's got a very motive set of waves down and has finished one very large first wave, and now we're putting in another little second here. This is the 62% retrace line, and so this looks like it's just about to turn over again. And this is part of the Dow theory, and it just means that the entire market, this really talks to transportation, and it just says that there's not a lot of demand there, and that transportation is going to fall over once again. So we've got this, obviously the Dow Jones Industrials is in a bear market, and we can look for that to turn down, I would think, in the next day or two. I want to spend a few minutes on the Euro US dollar. This is a daily chart because this is moving contra to the US equities. And I have been saying that since sometime in September last year, when I all of a sudden noticed, hey, these things are moving contra. The Euro US dollar is going up whenever the US equities head down. So I've been expecting, I've been saying this for quite some time, for the euro to go back up again, because this is the 38% retrace line, which should be a fourth wave, and it hasn't made it there yet. I'm fully expecting this to go all the way up to this second wave level, which is 1.266. And so it's doing that. I've been expecting that for quite some time. And so what we're looking at on the other side, of course, is the dollar heading down. This is short term. This is going to drop. Dollar will drop as the U.S. equities drop, and then we will hit a plateau, I think, after this wave, very possibly, or after the next set of waves. But right now, the Euro US dollar is heading up. I'm just going to zoom in and show you what it's doing over the next couple of days. We're now zoomed into a 2-hour chart, and I think that this level probably gives you a good idea of where I see things going. Because this is moving, the Euro US dollar is moving in lockstep contra to the US market. So I use it to tell me where the US market is going, because it tends to be a little bit ahead. And so you can judge by this what the next moves in equities are going to be. But we had this first wave up, which starts much earlier. It started actually last year. This first wave up of what I see as being a third wave, fourth wave, fifth wave pattern. It's a counter trend move, but it's going to go way up. We've got some motive waves happening here. This was a motive looking wave going up for a first wave, and so we had this ABC counter trend move here, and then we've done another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up here, which is a very motive wave, and then we had an ABC down, which is a corrective wave, and we're now down to this another second wave here. And on, I can't remember which day it was, we headed up very quickly here to again another first wave up, and this wave should be a first wave. And what happens with a first wave, you typically get a 1, 2, 3, 4 and a fifth wave up to the top here, and that's what's happening. So we're going to get we've had this first wave up, we've had this retrace, but what was happening on Friday was we were getting this little second wave retrace, and it's got hung up here. It's got a little further down to go, and then I see this shooting back up again. So this should happen at the same time we see our fourth wave in the US equities, in the indexes, and then we're going to have a big second wave down here, which would take us to the 62% retrace line. So we're going to come down, up, and then we will have 3 waves down here to 1.106. And this is a very wonderful tradable pattern. And you'll be able then to see this turn up into a big third wave. And I would suggest this is when the US equities is going to turn down for its big third wave. And so you'll see, you think this was a sheer shooting through the ceiling. This one should be even more so than that. So we're going to see some very volatile times coming up. So that's my market report for Monday, Tuesday, the March 14th, 15th, which is our cycle turn. I think we're going to see some very interesting days ahead, and I would be watching the euro very carefully to see what it does, and the US equities, I think, are going to follow contra to it. So good trading. Looking forward to a very volatile and probably prosperous week.